Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Power Women in Insurance podcast. My name is Teresa Kitchens. I am excited to talk to you today with Amber Inclan, and she is with Inclan Insurance in Arizona. But you know what? She is amazing. I have seen her at the Better Agency Conference, at Innovation Conference. She has a great mom. She is all over the place. If you follow her on Instagram, Facebook, social media, she comes and she brings it every single day to what it is that she does with her work, with her personal life, and everywhere that she is making a difference today. So Amber, welcome. I'm excited to have you today on the podcast.
Thanks so much, Teresa. And I will say that introduction just fluffed my feathers a little bit. So thank you.
I'm here to help you fluff, honey. I love it. I love it.
So very honored to be here.
Well, good. You know, and we've been talking about this for a little while. I'm so grateful that we were able to get this scheduled. And I just fell in love with you last year at the Better Agency Conference. I just felt like we were able to really connect, talk about insurance, and talk about, we have a similar family journey that we're both, you know, working with parents and so forth with. My mom was with State Farm for a number of years, and then my dad was with Allstate, so not quite exactly the same. But you two kind of come from that family background experience in insurance, right? That makes everybody kind of roll their eyes, right? Whenever you grew up, you know, it was always like, well, you know, who's at fault if this happens? And my daughter and my son totally 100% call me out on that, you know, all the time. So tell us a little bit about your journey, how you got here, kind of that process, and what you're doing today.
Okay, so I'll try and keep it real short and simple so people don't fall asleep. But as a lot of I'm fourth generation insurance agent. My grandfather owned an agency. My grandmother then took it over. My mom is one of 5 girls. At one time, all of my aunts, including my mom, worked in the agency. My grandmother to this day still works, is the best sales producer you will ever meet. That woman doesn't sell a damn policy. The people want to buy from her. So she definitely is a legend in my
opinion. That is goals right there. I'm just saying.
But yeah, so and then, you know, nights and weekends worked in the agency. As a kid and a teenager, thought it was the most horrific thing. You know, who wants to paper file and answer phones and, you know, file claims for people? So had big aspirations of being a fashion designer and, you know, traveling the world and doing all these things. To make a very long story short, and on that end, went to college, tried several different majors at the end, did try to be a fashion designer, failed miserably, paid for a degree I never got. And at that point, my mom said, hey, why don't you get your insurance license and you can pay back those student loans, make a good living, and then decide what you want to do. That was 17 years ago.
And here you are.
And here I am, worked in several agencies, but always knew that I wanted to be a business owner. Never really saw myself being an agency owner. But once I got into the business, realized I'm good at what I do. And so how could I become an agency owner, but more than that, be passionate about it and make this my lifelong career. So once I found what that was, I then approached my mom and said, hey, let's open an agency. Got a lot of pushback from her for about 2 years. One day, I was fed up, wanted to do it, said, hey, are you in, are you out? And I told her exactly like that. She said she was in, and 30 days later, we started an agency from scratch, and that was coming up on 6 years ago.
Nice. So tell me, was your family independent? Were they captive? What kind of was your family background as far as the insurance process went?
Independent, all of the agencies. Yep. So that is my background.
Perfect.
So that's what I know best.
I love it. But insurance is kind of like that. I hate to use this word, but it's kind of like that vortex, right? That you kind of get into and you don't get out. When people get in, they just stay there forever, right? Because there's so many different things to do. Like you mentioned, there's claims, there's sales, there's service, there's carrier type situations, there's tech these days. And people can kind of find what sets their soul on fire somewhere in the insurance industry overall. So I love the fact that you took your entrepreneurial spirit and combined it with that insurance piece. Tell me a little bit about how you approach that process to find where you really can do the things on a day-to-day basis to set your soul on fire, right? How did you kind of get to the point where you said, hey, I want to go on out there and own a business or own an agency rather than sell for another agency, rather than maybe go into corporate or go into claims or something? How was your journey and for you to be able to find what you're really passionate about?
In all honesty, Teresa, that was a little bit tough for me because I felt lost for a little while, not really knowing how to go about that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, what I can say I did is I did a lot of soul searching. I read books, I listened to podcasts. I had to dig deep to figure out what it was that I really enjoyed in life and how could I apply that in business, period. And then even dig down a little bit deeper and, okay, how do I apply that to the insurance industry?
Yeah.
And so for me, it's people, it's relationships, it's leadership. Growing up, I had some great women and figures in my life. But I think in terms of leadership and that type of role, I really didn't have that. But I feel like that is something within me that it drives me. And so I want to create that in my agency. And like we talked about a little bit more, sorry, I'm kind of, going off track a little bit, but in terms of my agency, we're primarily commercial, and business owners, to me, I have so much respect for them.
Yeah.
So, they're driven, they are passionate, they are all these things. And if I can lead and train a team like that to then go out into the community and better the community and be a part of the community, be advocates for those business owners, that to me is what makes me happy.
Yeah, making a difference in the lives of other business owners in your area. I love it. So when you decided to go into commercial, what was that journey for you? Because why commercial? And for a woman in commercial, how have you been received? Because I think sometimes a lot of businesses are run by men, and how do they receive you as a commercial insurance professional? Are you welcomed with open arms? Yes, no? Tell us a little bit about that.
So it was very simple how I got into commercial. My mom told me, don't stay in personal lines, you go to commercial. That's, she knows my personality. So she knows that personal lines for me is a little too routine and mundane.
Right.
So she just said, you go into commercial, number one, you're going to thrive there. And number two, you're going to make more money. Mm-hmm. So that's why and how I did it. But I will say the journey in commercial has not been easy. I'd say it's about 50-50. When I first started 17 years ago, it was a little bit tougher because obviously I was much younger, female in a male dominated, industry. So I had to fight. I had to fight for what I wanted. I had to fight for the respect. And of course, there was days I went home crying. But, you get back up, you dust yourself off, and you keep going. And now I've learned that I only work with clients and people that respect me as a person, as a professional, and as a woman. And I mean, you still come across, and I still come across those men that, are a little chauvinistic and have their opinions. But at the end of the day, 90% of the time, they're going to work with me because they know what the hell I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what do you do to show them that you know what you're talking about? So how do you set yourself apart from the other, like Next Insurance or the online experiences or the people who want to come on in and just be able to make a quick buck and be able to maybe discount coverages and so forth? How do you engage with them in a way in which makes you stand out?
Number one, we're big on education. We educate our clients. I definitely don't want to work with somebody who is just looking for the cheapest policy. Obviously, we all come across them, and we just really do our best to educate them, because no two businesses are alike. I don't care if I have two CPAs; they are completely different in a sense of what they're doing and what kind of coverages they may or may not need, depending on what they're doing. So for us, a huge part of that is education, and it's not just educating our clients. It's, I try to put out on my social media, and when I do networking events, I give that information out to people as a whole, because it's important, because nobody ever really talks about those things. So I think that's the biggest way that myself and our agency sets ourselves apart. Number two, as time has gone on, I have had to realize that I have to be myself. Yes. I can't be like the farmer's agent next to me or the other independent agency down the street.
Yep.
I have to be true to who I am, my personality, and there are going to be people who love me and want to work with me all day long, and there are going to be people that don't, and I had to come to terms with that's okay. So being myself and education. Oh, it's so hard, because it's hard to not take it personal. But at the end of the day, when you find your people, it makes it all worth it.
Totally. And I think too, that's a maturation process in a career, is to be able to say, everybody's not my person, right? So, I mean, even like, because if we think about just life in general, right? When we're in junior high, we want everybody to love us, right? We want to live the Instagram life or whatever. I mean, there wasn't Instagram when I was a kid, but we all want to live that perfect life. We want to have the perfect hair, makeup, high school, right? We want to be the cool kids. We want to whatever, but we have to find the people that match our soul, right? That are our tribe, that are our people. And I think that we need to make sure, we think that when we get older, that all that's going to go away, and that we are gonna life's gonna just level up, and everybody's just doing their thing, and it's just everybody's gonna love each other, and it just doesn't work that way. It's still very much, you got to find your people. I mean, there are certain people that I just can't hold a conversation with, because they, for whatever reason, we just have different ideals. We have different concepts. We have different goals. Right. And so I love that you are saying that you work with people who match you, because you have come to that point in time in your career where and understand that that's really what keeps a client, what makes a great client, and what makes you happy at the end of the day. Super important.
No, absolutely. And, I agree with you. We think as we get older, we care less, and what other people's opinions and those things don't matter, but it's not true. Right. We still care. It still matters. And for me, it's a daily practice. Yep. I do a lot of journaling and affirmations and just positive self-talk, because we all can, we can revert back to that teenage, to that teenager. Yeah. But yeah, so definitely coming to terms with, I am worthy, and I am good as I am, and, the right people will find me.
Yes, exactly. So tell me a little bit about your growing this agency. So you've had your agency now for 6 years. What have been some of those challenges that you've encountered in that process, and how have you been able to overcome them?
Oh, okay. So there's been obviously a long list of them.
Yeah, right. How long do we have? I don't know.
But starting out, we started from scratch with not one single client. So that in itself was a huge struggle. Number two, I'd say we got involved with the aggregator that I won't name names, but they basically tied our hands behind our back for the first 3 years that we were running our agency. And we probably could have sold I'd say at least 50 to 60% more of what we did in the first 3 years.
Wow.
Okay. And then getting out of the our contract with them, that set us back quite a bit. We lost our entire Mercury personal lines, commercial, and a Progressive personal book.
And you were in California at that point, right? Because I know Mercury specifically is really, really big out in California.
Yes, very competitive. And so that book itself was probably close to $500,000.
Wow.
So getting out of that was a huge challenge. Losing those books of business was a huge challenge, a huge cost. So those were some big challenges, but if there's a will, there's a way. We were confident in, sales. We were confident in what we knew about commercials. So we found an aggregator and because at this point we had no choice, again, because we were scratch, we just didn't have the premium. We couldn't commit to the premium that these carriers wanted. So, so we just got back to grinding, and we've done pretty well. We really like our new aggregator. If we have to have one, we like them.
Well, that's good.
Right. And then I think the biggest thing for us is that we got rid of our office location. That was very hard for my mom, who's my business partner, because, she comes from the old school where you have to have, store, brick and mortar.
Yep.
So
as they say, you have to have your shingle out, right? That's what
exactly.
people say, have your shingle.
So a challenge there was just convincing her that, we were going to be okay if we went remote. So I convinced her. We got rid of our agency 3 years, just shy of 3 years ago, before COVID hit. Biggest blessing in disguise. It's really helped us to grow continuously and not get stuck with those overhead expenses and things like that. So
do you feel like that makes any a lot of people feel like if they don't have a physical location that they're not going to be seen as legit or as professional or as like people won't let you write their business because you're not a real agency or something. I have found that people don't want to come to my office. I mean, they really, really don't. And especially commercial, they want you to go to them because they're busy, they're doing stuff. They want you at their desk. They want to sign your paperwork and they want you out the door. I have not found that anybody wants to come to my offices. And we do work from home a lot, but we have an office technically. I'm not there very often, but have you found that that's made any real impact? Do any of your clients even know you don't have a physical office?
So most of them have no idea.
Okay.
In the 3 years we've gone remote, 2 commercial clients have asked us to come into the office, sign paperwork. I explained to them that we do everything digitally. They had no issue. So I think people are adapting to technology and the climate of, where we're at. And again, we deal with busy business owners, people who don't want to take the time to come in. And let's just say they did. Maybe those aren't the people that I need to work with right now. Right. And it's not to say that we'll never have another location, but now, especially it works. It gave me the confidence in being remote. It gave me the confidence to now move from California to Arizona and start a new team here. And, I think starting remote,
you were muted or something. I don't know. You're not muted. I don't know. I lost your audio. Can you hear me? Oh, there you are, I think. Yeah, I can hear you now. Can you hear me? Oh, maybe I can't. I think I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
I'm so sorry. Yes, I don't know what happened to my AirPod. They must have died.
No.
But yes, so I really think that it set me up and has given me the confidence to, move to Arizona without my mom, my business partner, and start a new team out here and really build and grow the agency, really.
Right. And I love the fact that you're growing the agency that you want, right? You're not growing an agency that's going to cookie cutter that everybody else does, that maybe is, what everybody else would recommend for you to do. You are building the business that suits your lifestyle and suits your way of being able to do business. And I think that's really important, not to get stuck in the idea of how it's always been done.
Right. And it's tough sometimes because, you see everyone else doing all these great things and their suggestions, their ideas, which are all great. But, I have to really just kind of go with my gut, because for a long time I was like, oh, I have to do this because so and so's doing this. I have to. And it didn't work for me. And now I'd say I do have a smaller team, but we're happy. We're growing, and things are being done the way that are conducive to us and our lifestyle.
I love it. I love it. And you're probably attracting the better clients that you want too, because your model is conducive for them specifically. So they are the ones that you really want.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's nice to see that all come into fruition now. The first few years you start, you doubt yourself and all
Yeah.
these, like, what am I doing Is it going to be right? Because you plant your seed and it takes time for that to grow. But we're seeing, those flowers blooming now finally. So it's good.
So your mom's still in California. And so you guys are working not only from home, but you're working in different locations, different spaces. So that has its own challenge as well.
Oh, it does. I love my mom, but she's a little technology challenge. So that in itself has been very challenging. But for the most part, it's been good. But it does come with some challenges. But it's nice to know that, also in starting the business with my mother, she's a rock star. She is a lady that reads insurance policies for fun. She and I'm like, right? I'm like, what is wrong with you? But insanely knowledgeable. But part of that was almost a crutch for me for a while, because I felt like, well, I can't do it without her. I need her and I have to have her. And don't get me wrong, I love her, and she's a great partner. And we've done this together, but knowing that if I need to, and when it's time for her to transition into retirement, I am absolutely capable of doing it myself.
Yes.
That's been huge for me.
That is awesome. That is amazing. And I love that she's passed that on to you too. So, because, because this will probably actually publish in May, and we're recording today, February 24th. So, I'm in the process of working with my daughter to be able to bring her on. And I love the fact of the legacy concept that we can pass along that joy of insurance, but then also the security that insurance gives, and that your mother has breathed into you that powerful woman type situation, so that you can have exactly what you want. And that is exactly this agency and business ownership and pouring into your local community with business owners. And I think that's what a great legacy for her. I think that's awesome.
It is. And like we discussed, prior to the podcast, I think it's so great that your daughter's joining, and it really is. It's huge. It's a legacy, and your daughter will learn so much more from you, more than just insurance. It will be, like
Maybe
you
some
said,
bad habits too. Yeah.
Well, of course. I mean, come
How
on.
to pour the drink, lots of skills, life skills, right?
Right. How to survive insurance.
Right.
Drink.
That's exactly what it'll turn into. How to survive insurance. That is hilarious. That's awesome. So tell me a little bit about kind of your education journey. So where do you feel like you've been able to bring in that value? How did you find because I know you said earlier that you really want to make sure you bring that value to your clients, right? That you teach, that you take an education standpoint. Where does someone start with all that? How do you, because every business is a little bit different, how do you focus what you give your clients by resources and education? And how do you reach out to them to be able to do that? I mean, email, how do you pour into your community and your clients?
I would say right now, a lot of it is when I'm on the phone with them, when we're doing renewal reviews, or even just new clients. We set it up in a way that we are very upfront and transparent about how we do business, and part of that is telling them, we want to provide value to you. So we are going to tell you and give you information that's going to better your business now and in the future. Because especially new business owners, they're just thinking of the now. What do they need now to get that certificate, or to, to get that job? But they're not really thinking or budgeting or have it in their business plan. They may have one employee today, but 3 months from now, they're planning on hiring 3 or 4.
But even in that process, they don't think about their insurance and that their insurance would change.
Exactly.
In their mind, they're thinking, I have this much business and I need this many people and I need to train these people and I need to buy this truck so that this person can get to that location. But they're not thinking, do my needs change during that process?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where we come in, so we set that up and say, hey, look, this is our job. We want to take this off of your plate. So let us give you this information. Let us guide you. Let's make this process simpler for you. And that's really kind of how we set it up. And so they appreciate it when your clients feel like, number one, you're providing them value, but two, you're simplifying the process and you are guiding them, hand-holding them so they don't have as much to do. They are extremely grateful and they will be hopefully lifelong, clients.
Yeah.
So that's where a lot of that education comes from. So we kind of we want to know where you're at now, where you're projecting yourself in the next year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And then that's how we approach it. Also again, in the reviews, what's changed, what's going on, why you may need this, why you may not. Also in emails, we send things out here and there. And a lot of it I do just in my networking, on my social media, because even if you're not my client, I feel like people are so naive to insurance, and
Yes.
not by any fault of their own. It's just, I think, I think in high school, personally, kids should be taught about insurance, about finances, credit scores, things that really impact them as adults, as business owners, and those things. So if I can provide that to people who aren't even my client, it's good. And I've gotten a lot of great feedback. You don't know what you don't know, and it really helps these people. So I try to actively do that on social media as well, and again in my networking.
I love it. I love it. Because insurance is something, one of those things that you don't know what it is until you need it. And then all of a sudden you learn about it. And even then you only learn certain pieces of it, right? Which really come down to whether or not they write you a check or not. That's really what a lot of people, they learn, oh, well, that's not a coverage, right? That's not something, or we could have added that in, but that would have been an extra, $15. Oh, well, now I just took a hit of $10,000 on my business property or whatever, right? But until they really sit down and either someone explains it or they have a loss, that's when people learn about insurance. And unfortunately, that's a very difficult time to learn about insurance.
It is. And so it's just our mission really to try to provide as much information prior to those losses happening. Losses are inevitable, but if people feel like they're in the right hands and they have the education and the general knowledge that they need to really get through it, it's huge.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is one of your favorite things that you've learned over the last 6 years that you feel like is invaluable for your business?
Oh gosh.
I'm throwing this out there for you. So listeners, I'm just telling you, I'm throwing her for a curveball right now. So this is not necessarily something we talked about before or that I prepared her for, but I think that when people go into business or they go into a niche or whatever, there are always things we don't know, right? There's always things that we have to kind of figure out. I always call it, feeling around in a dark room, trying to figure out where it is that I'm trying to go, right? So when we get to those moments, and how have you plugged through, and what has helped you through that, through maybe a difficult challenge, or how have you approached your personal growth through that?
Right. I think the biggest thing is resilience. As a whole, being a business owner, it is tough. It is not for the faint of heart. And I guess the biggest lesson is I've learned how to be adaptable. Things are not always going to go as planned, and there are going to be some real shitty days. But it's like, okay, how do we pick ourselves up again? How do we learn from those quote unquote failures? And I don't even believe in the word failure. I believe there's lessons learned, right?
Yeah.
And
you still learn something even in that time. And I always tell people, maybe that wasn't for you anyway. Maybe it's not that you failed. Maybe
Right.
it failed you. Maybe that wasn't your thing. Maybe that wasn't supposed to be your office manager. Maybe that wasn't supposed to be your client. Maybe that wasn't supposed to be yours, whatever it is. And it was just, the world universe telling you that was just not where you needed to be. It's not about a failure.
Right. 100%. I couldn't agree more. But I think a lot of people are quick to quit,
Yes.
quick to take things personal, and just really not see the lessons and keep going. I
Yeah.
think the biggest thing I've learned, like I said, resilience, to get up and keep going, keep trying, not giving up, because you're gonna find that light, at the end of the tunnel, that gold pot at the end of the rainbow, whatever, however you want to term it. There's always going to be ebbs and flows in business, right? But um, you know, just I think in general in life, people um, need to get some toughness, get a little tougher
Mhm.
skin, and especially if you're a business owner. And so that's what I've learned, just to really keep plugging along and adapt and bob and weave and whatever it is I need to do. I can cry, but a half an hour later, I'm, got my heels on and I'm pounding the pavement again.
Yep. Yep. I love it. I love it. And it is that don't quit attitude and that tenacity. I think that we have to remember that, I mean, and we have to accept the fact that sales and business ownership is hard. And if it
Mhm.
was easy, everybody would do it, right? I
Well,
mean,
that's it.
and it's the people that make it and the people that make it work and the people that keep on keeping on that make this process a success.
No, absolutely.
I love it.
Absolutely.
I love it. Well, you know what? If somebody wants to reach out to you, talk about your journey, talk about commercial insurance, talk about who you are, maybe remote offices, whatever it might be, how would you like for somebody to reach out to you?
No, I would absolutely love, if anybody has questions or wants to just bounce ideas off me. Best way to reach me, they can find me on Instagram. My handle is Amber_Inclan, INCLAN _ They can also email me, amber@inclaninsurance.com. I'm on Facebook, Amber Payan Inclan. By the way, ladies, if you haven't hyphenated, don't. Um,
So is your name hyphenated or like in life is
so
it hyphenated or
so
is it just
Payan
a Facebook name?
Inclan.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, on Facebook. It's hyphenated. I thought I was hanging on to, my independence, which
Yep.
was great. But when it comes to everything else, it's just a hassle.
That is funny.
So
That is
but
funny.
yes, I welcome anyone to please reach out to me, if you have commercial questions, remote agency questions, just
How to
want to
take over the
mastermind.
world,
Yeah, let's do it, ladies. Let's do
how to
it.
be a badass woman.
That's right.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us and being able to share your mojo with all the women out there in the world. I just think it's awesome. And I do look forward to seeing you again. I know that I will be at Innovation this year, which is in October. And I will not be at Better Agency, but I will be at Innovation. So I look forward to seeing you again soon.
Yes, I can't wait. We'll definitely
Love it.
have to get together and hang.
We will. Well, everybody, this has been another amazing episode of the Power of Women in Insurance podcast. We are honored to be able to talk to another amazing woman every single Wednesday. So make sure you check us out on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you stream your local options for all your podcasts. And make sure you give us a review. Right now, Apple iTunes is the place to be able to give reviews, but it helps us to be able to reach out to more people. Share the podcast, share the message, share the love, and encourage other women out there in the insurance space to go on out there and reach that brass ring. Everybody, I'll talk to you next week.